My name is Oravind Solara. I'm 34 years old. If you had asked me a week ago what my favorite sound was, I probably would have said kids laughing in the backyard. That sound, high, loud, happy, sugar-filled laughter, makes everything feel light and fun. It's the kind of sound that makes your chest feel warm, your toes tingle, and your shoulders relax all at once. That sound was in my backyard last Saturday, and it was the kind of happy chaos that makes a birthday feel magical. Before I continue further, don't forget to subscribe and join the awesome community. Drop a comment below to tell me where you're watching from and what you think of the story. Kalen, my son, had turned 8 that morning, and he had been telling me over and over at least 12 times that it was going to be the best birthday ever. His excitement was so big it filled the whole house. We spent the morning getting ready. There were streamers everywhere and balloons taped to the fence. Some of the balloons were crooked and the streamers didn't line up perfectly, but that didn't matter. Kalen wanted to help and he wanted it to look amazing. He stood on a dining chair, stretching as high as he could, sticking blue and red ribbons to the fence. His tongue poked out of his mouth because he was concentrating so hard. "It has to look cool," he said. "Everyone is going to see it." I smiled at him. "It already looks cool. You made it." He blushed. He always does when I say something nice to him. It's not like my family, who would puff up and brag or turn compliments into a joke. Kalen just absorbs praise quietly, like sunlight soaking into the ground. Then he keeps going, always trying, always giving, always kind. By 2 o'clock the backyard was alive. Kids from his class ran around, cousins shouted and chased each other, and my friend Torin, Kalen's godfather, was setting up a big Lego set on the patio table. Pizza boxes were stacked in a corner, paper plates were scattered everywhere, and a sheet cake with messy, crooked writing sat in the middle of the table. There was way too much frosting, but Kalen loved it. The yard wasn't perfect, it wasn't Pinterest perfect, but it was ours. It was full of happiness, chaos, and love. Kalen kept running back to me, cheeks red and hair sticking up from static on the balloons. He would whisper, "This is awesome, Mom," before sprinting off to play again. His excitement was contagious. I was smiling so much my face hurt. Then my parents arrived. They arrived late, of course, and in their usual dramatic way. Their car door closed with that heavy, deliberate sound that always makes me tense. My mom got out first, smoothing down her blouse like she had been dragged somewhere against her will. My dad followed, carrying a gift bag that looked like it had been through a war. The gold letters were peeling off. The bag was crumpled and old. My brother Davin came after them, holding his 2 kids and a phone, completely distracted. None of them looked at the decorations Kalen had worked so hard on. None of them noticed how excited he was, standing there practically vibrating by the gate. "Hi, honey," my mom said, kissing my cheek quickly. She didn't even look at Kalen. My dad handed him the bag without bending down or smiling. Kalen, because he is polite and because I taught him manners, took it carefully with both hands. "Thank you, Grandpa," he said softly. He opened it. Inside were 2 plain gray socks. Just socks. No colors, no superheroes, no fun patterns, no notes, nothing that an 8-year-old would enjoy. Kalen froze. He held the socks carefully, like they might break if he touched them too hard. Everyone waited for a reaction. My dad laughed, a loud booming laugh, the kind adults use when they think they have made the funniest joke in the world. My mom laughed. Davin laughed. His wife laughed. Nobody else laughed. Kalen didn't laugh. He just looked at his grandfather's face like he was waiting for someone to say, "Just kidding. Here's the real present." But nobody did. My dad took a sip of his drink, still smirking, looking like he had said something brilliant. My mom said, "Well, not all kids can be winners," and nudged Davin. Davin shook his head and said, "He's so sensitive, just like his mother." They all nodded like that explained everything. I felt Kalen's shoulders droop. I felt it all the way in my chest. He looked at the socks again and carefully put them back in the bag. Then he turned and walked past the pizza, balloons, and Lego set and disappeared into the house. No one followed him. No one called his name. They just went back to their plates and their conversations like nothing had happened. I sat there frozen. The sounds of my parents laughing, Davin's jokes, forks scraping on plates, they blurred into noise. They didn't respect my son. They never have. To them, grandchildren were like trophies. Easy to show off if they did well in sports or school. My niece, who played soccer and scored goals every season. Golden. My nephew, who won spelling bee trophies. Golden. Kalen, who is quiet, kind, and sensitive. Not golden. Not enough for them. When my father called him the worst grandson, it didn't just hurt Kaylin. It hurt me too. It hit me deep, right in my chest. It hurt because they were attacking the way I raised him. It hurts because I choose to teach kindness instead of cruelty. Because I care more about who he is than about making them comfortable. Something inside me hardened. I didn't explode. I didn't yell or throw plates, though a small, wild, feral part of me wanted to. I waited 20 minutes. 20 full minutes of their loud, careless talking while my son hid inside. I counted songs on the Bluetooth speaker, trying to keep my hands from shaking. After the third song ended, I got up. I went into the house, through the kitchen, past the trail of party debris and up the stairs. Kaylin's door was half open. He was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, with the half-built Lego spaceship in front of him. He wasn't crying loudly, but his face was tight. Tight in the way that kids get when they are trying to be brave so nobody calls them a baby. "Hey," I said softly, sitting down beside him. "You okay?" He shrugged. "I'm fine," he said. I knew he wasn't. I picked up one of the tiny Lego pieces and rolled it between my fingers. "Do you want everyone to leave?" I asked. "We can end the party early if you want. We can just hang out with Torin and your friends." He thought for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Yes," he said. His voice was small but steady. "I don't want them here." That was all I needed. I kissed the top of his head, then got up and walked to my room. I opened a desk drawer and pulled out a folder I had prepared 2 weeks earlier but had never planned to use. Inside was a copy of Davin's lease agreement, with me listed as guarantor, and a letter I had written. The letter was short and simple. "Effective immediately, I will no longer be responsible for your rent, utilities, groceries, car insurance, or any other recurring expenses. This is not temporary. This is final." I hadn't planned to use it that day. But then my parents called my son the worst grandson. That was enough. That was the day I decided to finally draw a line. I went back outside, folder in hand. The sunlight was harsh, bouncing off the folding tables and reflecting on the pizza boxes. My family sat around the table, voices too loud, completely unaware of what was about to happen. I didn't clear my throat. I didn't announce myself. I just walked up to Davin and put the folder in front of him. "What's this?" he asked. "Open it," I said. He flipped it open, eyes scanning the first page. His face changed from annoyed to blank in seconds. His hand tightened around the paper. "What is this supposed to mean?" he asked, even though he already knew. My dad squinted. My mom leaned forward. "Oravin," she said. No one laughed. No one said anything. I didn't give a speech. I didn't justify myself. I didn't remind them that for over a year, I had been wiring almost $3,000 every month into Davin's life, listening to him complain about how expensive kids are while I scraped coins from my console to buy my son a field trip ticket. I didn't say any of that. I just walked back to Kaylin. The party, as far as my parents and Davin were concerned, was over. They just didn't know it yet. Outside, the sounds of conversation, laughter, and plates scraping slowly died, like someone had pressed the mute button. I didn't care. I knelt down next to Kaylin again. "Do you want pizza or cake first?" I asked. He smiled a little. "Cake first," he said. I smiled back. We went inside and cut the cake together. Kaylin carefully placed candles on top, counted them, and made a wish. The wish was private, just between him and the birthday cake. I didn't ask. I just watched him, my heart full. Later, Torin came inside and the other kids followed. They played Lego together, building spaceships and castles. Kaylin laughed again, the way he always does when he is truly happy. It was quieter than the backyard laugh from before, but it was real and it was his. And that was enough for me. I realized something important that day. Family isn't always the people you are born with. Family is the people who see you, who care about you, who protect you. And I would always protect Kaylin. I would always make sure he knew that he mattered, that he was loved, and that no one could make him feel small in my house. That day I didn't just defend my son. I defended everything I believed in. I defended kindness, patience, and love over cruelty, selfishness, and humiliation. And for the first time I felt completely, truly free. I closed the sliding door behind me and walked straight to Kaylin's room. The sunlight from the window made the carpet look warm, but I felt a little nervous anyway. "Hi, sweetheart," I said softly as I sat down next to him on the floor. Kaylin didn't look up. He was carefully putting Lego bricks together, the way he always did when he was trying not to feel sad or upset. His little fingers moved with quiet precision, snapping one piece to another. I knew that when he was quiet like this, he was holding something inside, maybe sadness or worry, and he didn't want anyone to see it. I gently touched his shoulder. "Do you want me to ask everyone to go home?" I asked. He thought for a moment, then whispered, "Yes, please." That was all I needed. I kissed the top of his head softly. "Hey," I said. For the first time in my whole life, I made a choice just for us. I didn't think about what my parents or my brother might say. I didn't think about anyone else. I just thought about my little boy and what he needed. I walked back to the yard where my family was still sitting at the folding table talking and laughing. "The party's over," I said. My voice was calm, not loud, but it carried clearly. It didn't have to be. My dad blinked like he couldn't understand. "What? Are you serious?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "You need to leave." My mom scoffed. She looked at me like I had just said something very silly, like the sky was green. "Honey, you're upset. Let's just come inside and talk." Calmly, she said, trying to make me feel wrong for my feelings. "You need to leave," I repeated. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I just said it, and I meant it. My brother was staring at the papers in front of him, looking confused and shocked. My sister-in-law whispered something to him, maybe telling him to say something, but he didn't. He just sat there staring like he couldn't believe what had just happened. He realized finally what life would be like without my help. Only Torin and the kids' friends stayed. They were the only ones who had come for Kaylin. Everyone else shuffled away quietly without a word, their faces full of surprise and maybe anger. My mom tried one last time before leaving. "It's just a joke. You're overreacting." He wasn't even crying that much. Not even crying that much. Those words made my blood feel cold. I didn't say anything back. I didn't need to. I just held the door open until they all left. When the yard was finally empty, I went back to Kaylin's room. He was still on the floor, still building with his Lego bricks. But when he looked up and saw only the kids he had invited and his godfather outside, his whole body relaxed. His shoulders loosened and he finally looked a little like himself again. "Can we still have cake?" he asked softly. "Absolutely," I said. We lit 8 little candles. Kaylin blew them out, and even though his smile wasn't as big as it had been in the morning, it was real. And that was enough for me. For the next 24 hours my phone stayed quiet. It was a peaceful, almost magical silence. But then the storm came. First, Davin started calling. 1 missed call. 2 missed calls. 7 missed calls. 11 missed calls. Then came voice messages one after another. I didn't listen at first. Finally, curiosity got the better of me. I opened the first voice message. His messages were full of rage and panic all at once. "Orvin, what the hell is wrong with you? You're blowing this up over socks. You're ruining my kids' lives. This is insane. You owe me a heads up before you pull support. A heads up. 14 months of me covering your rent, utilities, car insurance, groceries, and unexpected childcare costs. And now you think I should have been warned that my free ride is over? No. I'm the one owed a heads up. You didn't owe me anything. You just ruined me." I didn't even flinch. I deleted all the voicemails. Then my mom tried texting. "Mom, can we talk calmly like adults?" I didn't answer. An hour later, another message came. "Your son wasn't even crying that badly. You're making it into something it's not. We didn't mean anything cruel. He's just not like the others. He needs to toughen up." It wasn't personal. I stared at the screen. They had called Kaylin the worst grandson on his birthday in front of a yard full of kids and laughed about it. Kaylin had walked away humiliated, quiet and small. Not one of them asked if he was okay. And my mother had the audacity to tell me it wasn't personal. What they didn't realize was that Kaylin wasn't the only one they had insulted. They had insulted me too. My motherhood, my choices, my values, my gentle boy who they did not deserve. No, it wasn't personal to them. But to me it was deeply personal. The following week, consequences began to pile up. Davin tried to transfer money to his landlord, but he couldn't even cover 1/3 of the rent. That evening he left another voicemail. "You can't do this. I have 2 kids. You should have warned me. Be an adult and talk to me." I didn't respond. Not because I was cruel, but because I had already been an adult for too long. 2 days later the landlord called me. "Hi, Miss Solara. Just confirming that you are withdrawing as guarantor for Davin Solar's apartment." "I am," I said calmly. Are you sure? There will be an eviction process at the end of the month. Yes, I said. I'm sure. He sighed. A heavy, empathetic sigh. Understood. I hung up and went to check on Kalen. He was lying on his stomach on the floor, the spaceship he had built fully completed. He made those soft, happy whooshing sounds that kids make when they are pretending their toys are real. The sunlight hit his hair just right, making it shine like copper. He looked up at me and grinned. A small, honest grin. Somewhere in the chaos of the past week, I realized something very important. My son smiled more in the quiet moments without my family than he ever did when they were around. That alone was worth every severed tie. 2 more days passed and then there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find my parents standing on my porch. They looked stiff and uncomfortable, like children waiting outside a principal's office. My mom spoke first. "We're worried about the family falling apart," she said. "You're letting a childish misunderstanding hurt everyone." "I didn't invite them in," I said quietly. "Do you remember what you gave him?" I asked softly. She blinked, confused. "What socks?" "Plain gray socks. And you called him the worst grandson on his birthday." She shifted her eyes to my dad for backup. "Oravan, you're being emotional," she said. "I'm being a mother," I corrected calmly. Dad cleared his throat, stepping forward. "Do you really plan to leave Davin and his kids without a place to live?" I didn't blink. "That's not my problem anymore." Mom scoffed. "Do you expect us to pick up the slack?" For the first time in the entire conversation, I smiled. Calm, sharp, certain. I didn't answer. Their silence was heavier than any words could ever be. They left without hugging me. Without apologizing. Without pretending to understand. Good understanding wasn't needed. Distance was. By the end of that week, Davin's eviction notice was official. His wife texted me from a strange number. "We have nowhere to go. Can you please help? Just for the kids." I didn't respond. They could go live with the grandparents who had mocked my son. They had earned each other. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to save them from themselves. When Davin and his family were officially evicted, you might think someone would have had the decency to tell me. Not because I wanted updates, but because my family had always treated me like part of every crisis, every meltdown, every self-inflicted disaster. But this time, silence. No calls, no texts, no tearful voicemail from my mother claiming, "We can fix this if we talk like adults." I found out the same way the rest of the extended family did, through a cousin's Instagram story. A boomerang video, something glittery and silly with Davin in the background dragging a trash bag full of clothes up my parents' driveway. One of the kids was holding a tangled tablet charger like it was a lifeline. My mother stood on the porch directing traffic with that strained but proud look she always reserved for moments when she thought she was performing saintly acts. The caption read, "Family sticks together." I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I didn't comment. I just screenshotted it, set the phone down and thought, sticks together like gum on the bottom of a shoe. That was what it really was. Not unity. Not teamwork. Just a sticky, unwanted mess no one knew how to remove without tearing everything else around it. They had moved into my parents' lives 3 days before the eviction date. No warning. No message. Not even a smug, "We figured it out without you." They just slid in and were proud of it. For the first week, my mother acted like she was starring in a Facebook drama called Saint of the Year. She rearranged the living room. She posted photos of the air mattress propped between 2 end tables like she was unveiling a charity project. She captioned one photo, "We do what we must. Family first." Not a single mention of me. The daughter who had been paying their rent for 14 months. Not a whisper. The first cracks appeared 2 weeks in. Davin, unshaven, sitting on my parents' couch in pajama pants, holding a gaming controller in one hand and a half-eaten bag of chips in the other. His 2 kids tearing through the hallway like small tornadoes, arguing over a tablet. My sister-in-law sprawled out, scrolling TikTok, earbuds in, completely lost in the algorithm. And my parents, the same people who once judged my housekeeping skills because Kalen left Legos on the stairs, were drowning in chaos they had invited. My father started snapping at everyone. My mother started stress cleaning every surface in sight. And still not once did they admit what everyone else could see. They had unleashed a problem they couldn't manage. Instead of fixing the problem, they turned back to their favorite coping mechanism. Me. First it was subtle. "Mom, Do you know any affordable grocery delivery services? Things are a little tight with 4 extra mouths. Davin. Hey, do you know how government benefits work? Just curious. Then it got bolder. My dad called late one night, voice heavy with what he thought sounded like reason. We've taken them in, but this isn't sustainable long term. Maybe you could help a little for the kids. They're innocent. I took a deep breath. I already helped, I said. Orvin, be reasonable, they said. For 14 months I had helped calmly. $3,000 a month. Rent, groceries, insurance, utilities, everything. While they laughed at my son on his birthday, he went silent. This is different now, he muttered eventually. You're right, I said, and I hung up. By week 4, things at my parents' house were really bad. I didn't hear it from my parents themselves, of course. They never tell me the truth about anything like that. I heard it from my cousin Sibel. Sibel is like the family historian. She knows all the secrets and all the drama, whether people want her to or not. Your mom called my mom crying, Sibel said over the phone, not even trying to whisper. Apparently your brother is really hard to live with. His wife isn't helping at all. The kids are wild. And your dad is about to lose it. I was flipping through a cookbook while she talked. I wasn't really looking for recipes. I just liked holding the book in my hands. She also said, the house smells like old peanut butter and sadness. That part was so accurate it made me shiver. But the part that hurt the most wasn't the chaos or the screaming or even the smell. It was what Sibel told me next, repeating the words my mom had said while crying into the phone. We should never have treated Kaylin that way. This is karma, Sibel said. But good. Let them feel it. I wanted them to understand what it felt like to be on the other side, to feel what they had done to Kaylin. A few days later, my sister-in-law sent me a text from a number I didn't know. I picked up my phone and the message read, Hey, we're feeling a little overwhelmed here. Can the kids come visit? They miss their cousin. The audacity of it made my teeth hurt. I didn't reply. I didn't even want to. I just showed the message to Kaylin. He read it, looked up at me with calm eyes and shrugged. They're only nice when they want something, he said. He was only 8 years old, and yet he understood manipulation better than the adults who tried to use it on us for years. I kissed the top of his head. You're right, I said. And that was it. We didn't talk about it again. But the biggest explosion, the one that changed everything, came in week 6. It was the kind of explosion that makes your stomach drop and your heart beat fast. A real, full police cruiser parked in front of my parents' house. At midnight. Sibel called me the next morning, her voice buzzing with the kind of stunned excitement that only comes from seeing a family disaster up close. You won't believe this, she said. The cops were at your parents' house last night. I wasn't even shocked. My heart didn't jump. It just sighed like it had been expecting this moment all along. Why? I asked. Oh, everything, Sibel said. Bills not paid. Internet cut. Your brother is blaming his wife for not having a job. His wife blamed him. Kids screaming. Your dad is trying to stop the fighting. And your brother yelled that you ruined the family, loud enough for the neighbor to hear. Of course he did, I muttered quietly. The neighbor thought it was domestic violence, Sibel added. The police made a report. And because minors were involved, CPS, Child Protective Services, got called. Someone had made an anonymous report about the house. Not me. Not anyone on my side of the family. Just a neighbor who saw the truth. A house drowning in chaos and dysfunction. CPS didn't take the kids away, but they made it very clear that the living situation was not safe. There would be follow-ups. There would be oversight. There would be rules. For the first time in their lives, my parents couldn't guilt-trip their way out of consequences. For the first time in my brother's life, he couldn't charm or manipulate his way out. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one being asked to fix it. I was just watching, holding on to the quiet truth that had carried me through the chaos. I didn't set this fire. They lit every match themselves. CPS showing up should have been a moment of clarity for my parents. A moment when they might have realized that their actions had consequences. But instead it was the moment they turned back to me. The one person they used to control. The one person who always fixed things for them. 2 days after Sibel told me about the police visit, my phone buzzed with the longest message my mother had sent in months. She broke it into multiple texts because she can never write something neatly all at once. Mom, Orvin, honey, she wrote. We've all had some time to reflect. We know emotions have been high. It's time to come together again as a family. We're willing to discuss reworking our arrangement. If you can resume helping financially, we'd be open to discussing future inheritance matters. Inheritance. That word made me want to laugh. They had just gone through a police intervention, CPS evaluation, and months of household chaos, and they genuinely thought I could be coaxed back with the promise of some imaginary future money. They were acting like I was a subscription service that had paused unexpectedly and now needed to restart. They didn't mention that their house now had a police report attached. They didn't mention that CPS would be checking in regularly. They didn't mention that the house smelled like stale peanut butter and despair. I didn't reply. That meant it was time for their next tactic, showing up uninvited. It was a Thursday morning when it happened. The sun was shining through the curtains while I cleaned cereal off the counter. Kalen was in the living room humming to himself as he worked on a puzzle. There was a knock on the door. A soft knock. Not urgent, not frantic, just like they expected me to open it. I peeked through the peephole. My mother was standing on the porch holding a Tupperware container of banana bread. Like it was a peace gift. "Your favorite," she said when I cracked the door open. I hadn't mentioned liking banana bread since I was 14, but she said it like she expected me to melt instantly from nostalgia. I didn't open the door further. I didn't take the bread. Instead, I asked softly, "Why are you here?" She sighed dramatically, like an actress in a play where she was the misunderstood matriarch. "We're in a difficult situation," she said. "Things at home have been hectic. The kids aren't adjusting well. Your brother still hasn't found work. CPS is breathing down our necks. We'd like to revisit the possibility of you helping again." Helping. That word made my teeth ache. As if I had been spending 14 months wiring nearly $3,000 a month to my brother's household because I wanted to be generous. Like it wasn't survival money that should have gone to my son. Like I had been helping instead of single-handedly keeping an entire family afloat while they laughed at us. Then she said the line that nearly made me choke. "We talked it over, and if you help again, we'd be comfortable giving you partial control over some future family assets." The house or investments? Investments plural. The house with the CPS file. The retirement fund my father borrowed against twice. The investments they always bragged about but never showed anyone. I looked at her and finally felt it. Not anger, not pain, but amusement. "You're offering me fake inheritance money," I said. "So, I'll support the people who mocked my son and ruined his birthday?" "It's not about money, Oravin," she snapped. "It's about keeping the family together." "Which part?" I asked. "The part where you insulted my child? The part where you called him sensitive? Or the part where you all laughed when he left in tears?" Her face tightened. "I didn't come here to fight." "Then why are you here?" I asked softly. "To ask for help," she said finally. "For the kids. They're innocent." I nodded. "Yes," I said. "They are. And that is exactly why I'm not helping." Her face fell. "How is that helping them?" "Because if I step in again," I said, "nothing will change. Your household stays chaotic. My brother stays unemployed. His wife stays detached. And those kids grow up thinking dysfunction is normal and consequences don't exist." She opened her mouth. I closed it. Drew in a trembling breath. "Oravin, please," she whispered. I shook my head gently. "No," I said. "Figure it out yourselves or keep waiting for a miracle that's not coming." Then I shut the door. She didn't knock again. That night Dad called. He never calls. He hates phones. If he's calling, it's serious. When I picked up, he didn't yell. He didn't guilt trip. He didn't sigh theatrically like Mom did. He just said quietly, "We need your help." Silence hung there between us, crackling like old wires. He took a shaky breath. "We didn't realize how much you'd been doing," he said. "Not until it stopped. We thought my brother just needed time. But he's not stepping up. And his wife, she's not coping. The kids are out of control. The house." He broke off, voice tight. "It's a disaster, Oravin." He rarely sounded defeated. It was almost unsettling. And then, in a voice so quiet I almost didn't hear it. "We were wrong about Kalen." My heart stuttered. Dad swallowed audibly. "We thought teasing him was harmless. We thought it would make him stronger, but we see now it hurt him. We see that now." I closed my eyes. Finally, the truth. But it was not nearly enough. "Oravin," he said softly. "Please, just until we get back on our feet." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't erupt. I just said, I think you should ask your favorite grandson. And I hung up. The next morning, a plain white envelope appeared in our mailbox. No return address, just Kaylin's name in my mother's loopy cursive. Inside was a small handwritten note. We're sorry we hurt your feelings. We miss you. Hope you forgive us someday. Kaylin read it once, shrugged, and used the card as a book. Davin. He didn't ask what it meant. He didn't carry it around like he used to. He had already let them go. And honestly, so had I. 3 months. That's how long it's been since I shut the door, literally and figuratively, on the people who spent years expecting me to save them from themselves. 3 months without late-night calls demanding money. 3 months without Davin's just until payday lies. 3 months of quiet, of peace, of knowing that we were finally safe from the chaos they had created. 3 months of Kaylin laughing, humming, playing with puzzles, feeling safe, and growing up knowing that it's okay to be treated well. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt free. 3 months went by without my parents telling me that Kaylin was too sensitive, too protected, or different from other kids. 3 months without me having to fix everyone's problems. 3 months of quiet, calm, and peace. And when you haven't had peace for a long time, it feels strange at first. Then it starts to feel like something you earned. Then it starts to feel normal. The first thing I noticed was how much money I actually had. It sounds silly, but when you spend years always trying to pay for everyone else, rent for my brother, food for his kids, insurance for their cars, birthday gifts you don't really want to buy, you stop thinking about yourself. You stop noticing your own needs. You stop seeing yourself. The first month I had $2,900 that didn't go to Davin's rent. I took Kaylin to buy a bike. Not a fancy bike, just one with flame stickers and big black tires that he always liked when we walked past the store. He rode it every day for 2 weeks. Sometimes he went in circles in the driveway until he got dizzy and fell onto the grass, laughing so hard his tummy hurt. That sound, pure happy laughter, was worth more than every payment I ever made for my brother. Not long after, I opened a new bank account. I called it the fund. Every time I didn't help Davin, I put some money in that account. Every time I didn't buy groceries for my parents, I added more. Every time I said no to a request that felt like guilt, I made a deposit. It added up fast. The second month we were having dinner. Kaylin had chicken nuggets and I had leftover pasta. I looked at him and said casually, "Do you want to go to Disneyland?" His fork fell right out of his hand. His eyes got really wide, like I said we were moving to the moon. "Are you serious?" he whispered. "Yeah, buddy," I said. "Just the two of us." He jumped across the table and hugged me so hard I almost fell off my chair. We went the next weekend. Not a fancy trip. I booked a cheap hotel close to the park and packed snacks so we wouldn't spend too much money. I even made a little plan to keep it affordable because old habits are hard to break. But none of that mattered. Kaylin hugged Spider-Man, ate 3 churros, went on the Star Wars ride twice, and fell asleep on my shoulder during the fireworks, sticky with sunscreen and happy. It was the first time in years I cried from happiness, and I realized how much we had missed because I spent too much time helping adults who wouldn't help themselves. Meanwhile, my parents' house was a mess. I didn't speak to them, but my cousin Sibel kept telling me what was happening. Davin still didn't have a job. His wife barely talked to anyone. The kids ran around like tiny hurricanes. My mother got stress rashes. My father moved to the basement to try to be quiet, which was funny because there were so many people and so much noise upstairs. At some point they tried to get help from the government, but Davin kept missing appointments and refusing to cooperate, so nothing worked. Bills were unpaid, electricity flickered, neighbors complained, and CPS had to check in more often. And through all of this, no one called to say sorry. No one admitted they hurt Kaylin. No one said anything about the party. But they all agreed on one thing. Somehow it was still my fault. Then my aunt called. She said carefully, "Now that everyone's learned their lesson, maybe it's time to talk about the old arrangement again." I laughed. Really laughed. My son had learned a lesson too. I told her that not everyone in your family gets to have a place at your table. She didn't call again. About a month later, something came in the mail. A plain white envelope, no return address, just Kaylin's name written in my mother's handwriting. Inside was a single $5 bill and a hand-drawn heart. That was it. Kaylin looked at it and said, "Can I buy a candy bar with this?" "You can buy 5, I said. He put it in his pocket and went back to playing Minecraft, not caring about any grown-up feelings behind it. He didn't ask why she sent it. He didn't ask if he should write back. He didn't even keep the card. He already had peace. Our life changed in ways I didn't expect. Kaylin started wanting to go to the park more. We went to the beach twice. We took a road trip up the coast, ate way too much ice cream and started a nightly ritual called Rose and Thorn, where he tells me the best and hardest part of his day. His roses started growing and his thorns started shrinking. Last week he asked if he could learn piano. I bought a second-hand keyboard and signed him up for lessons. He practices every morning before school. The soft, uneven notes drift through the house like proof that our world is healing. And my phone stayed quiet. Not scary quiet. Not waiting for trouble quiet. Just quiet. Peaceful quiet. A quiet that doesn't mean someone is waiting for me to fail. A quiet that means no one is taking everything from me. My parents tried to control everything. Stories, drama, money. But in the end they lost the one thing they never thought they could lose. Me, my son, and my time. And the best part? They did it to themselves.